Here. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Lawrence Felter. I'm our Senior Director of Unified Champion Schools for Pennsylvania. Today we are going to be going over what does postseason look like for Unified Bocce. So today the ultimate goal is that you have a lot of information that I'm going to give you for you to be able to make an informed decision if you want to participate in postseason for Unified Bocce. We have a ton of regular season bocce that is happening across the state. So just for some really quick metrics, so you know how big all of this is as we shake through all of it. So as of right now, today, we have 312 schools that have unified bocce teams at a high school level in Pennsylvania, which is amazing. Those 312 competitive bocce teams are participating in 873 bocce matches across the state from December until February, which is an enormous amount of competitions and are only possible because of all of you. So we have nearly 900 competitions that are going to happen throughout the year, 312 schools with over 400 teams, which is insane and super exciting. It is definitely a bragging point for us when we go to different conferences and sit on different calls to share all the really great competition that we have happening in Pennsylvania. With that said, since there is so much competition happening, there is a whole lot of interest in postseason. So we've gotten to the point over the last couple of years where we could have a really solid structure of what postseason advancement looks like. So today, that's what we want to take you through is of this giant thing that you are a part of. What does that look like come the end of regular season? Okay. I'm going to walk you through that, give you a lot of good information, give you an opportunity to ask some questions at the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as we shake through this. And if you have any questions as we go through, please go ahead and just drop them directly into the chat, and then you don't have to hang on to them into the end. I've got a couple staff members that are also joining me today. I see Steph Taylor is on here. I see Joe Augustine. I also see Brandon Kinsey. And then I saw Sarah Newman as well. So we have a number of our liaisons that work directly with you that are all on here. So if you have questions after this as well, you can reach directly out to them. We will share the slide deck. We're also going to share state paperwork as well, right? So lots of good stuff to get into. Let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so we'll cover everything from advancement, from your league championships, regionals to states. What does regional competition look like? What does states look like? What is a letter of intent and why is it so important to us? And then just some general facts of like what does states look like, right? And then you can put me in the hot seat and you can ask me all the questions you want about postseason there at the end. So the big thing that we're going to be going through is what does advancement look like, right? So we talked that we have nearly 900 competitions with over 300 participating schools. And it all shakes out as starting at a league level at this bottom tier of our pyramid here. So the top teams will participate in league playoffs. Those participants will be assigned regional, those winners. And I'm going to show you a spreadsheet here at the end that gives some allocations here. But we have 8 regionals across the state that will happen. That is consistent with the last 2 years. We are sticking with that exact same format. 8 teams will participate in each of those regional events. So as of right now, today, we have 51 leagues that exist across the state. I have 64 allocations to give to 8 across 8 different regionals. Okay. So each of those regionals having 8. The winner of each regional event will participate at states in Hershey March 19th is the actual competition day. Everybody will come in on the 18th. The key thing to postseason advancement that is slightly different from last year, that is incredibly important, that everybody knows and understands when you turn in your LOI, is that if you say yes to states, you are saying yes to league playoffs, regionals, and states. You are saying yes to everything. It is a all or nothing. If you cannot commit your team to anything past league championships, we're not turning in a yes LOI. Okay. So letter of intent. We're not saying you are going to anywhere else. All or nothing. It's a yes, we're doing all the things, or hey, you know what? We can't do those other layers, so we are not going to do that. Okay. So in each of these levels, you need to have an LOI or a letter of intent turned in. Ooh, there we go. On January 16th. Okay. That LOI must be signed by your principal or an administrator of some sort that says, yes, I'm aware that my team wants to do this. If you are a school with two teams, you could turn in a letter of intent that says team one is a yes, team two is a no, and that's fine. You do not need to say yes for both. You don't need to say no for both. It is up to you and your school, your administrators, your team of what is going to be best, right? Each team carries their own individual record. That record is what gets them to league playoffs. Okay. So you can, in theory, turn in a total two teams for yes, two teams for no, or a split LOI. Okay. So you're good there. You need to have that turned in before those playoffs. So January 16th is when that needs to be turned in. We'll also have some other paperwork that will be sent to you that'll come along with this slide deck. So we'll have the LOI that'll come out to you, the housing and meals forms as well. So you can start talking about that because when we get into states and what overnight looks like, we can show you what those forms are, but you'll have them in advance so you can start to plan out like who you would put in what rooms and whatnot. So remember, yes means yes to everything in postseason. This is what your letter of intent will look like. This is also page 44 of your coach's guide. Okay. So you can photocopy it straight out of there, or you're going to get a PDF version from your liaison as well. Either one will take, but you need to turn that in with that signature. So you can see that there are two slots on there. You can put team one, team two, if you have those two teams, turn in by January 16th. Okay. League. So first level of postseason is that the top performing teams within each of your leagues, based upon their regular season record, will advance to that first set of playoffs. Okay. So there will be representation from every single league in the state at a regional event. So everybody does get an allocation. Okay. Like I said, there's 51 of those leagues. I got 64 slots. Everybody gets a slot initially, and then we'll go through kind of how do those extra slots get allocated to those regionals. Okay. So not all teams or schools will qualify for your league championships. A yes LOI is required, and then a top type of record at the end of your season, your win-loss record. So that is what gets you to league playoffs. If you have competed in bocce before, as you know, bocce is very competitive here. So most folks do turn in a yes LOI. A lot of people do want to do postseason. Doesn't mean that you have to, so don't feel peer pressured, but we love to see the participation in that. That next level of postseason is our regional events. So we have 8 of these that are going to be hosted across the state. 64 total teams will compete, 8 in each of those regionals. This will happen in a time period between March 2nd and the 10th. Each regional will have its own specific date. So you'll get a listing of those of where you're assigned, your league is assigned, and the date that that regional will be hosted. Okay, so you'll have that well in advance. So on these days for regionals, for planning purposes, these are all-day events. So what you should plan on is that we generally have a check-in time around 10 or 11, but we do have a couple regionals that are shifted in time. So there will be a little bit later of a start. And when you get your regional assignment, that time frame will also be provided to you. As a general rule of thumb across the state, what you should plan for transportation is that your kids are going to be out of school for the day and may or may not make it back for dismissal. Okay. So important for you to just be aware of that. You are going to be responsible for the buses to get them to and from cost-wise, just so we're being completely transparent about what that looks like. Okay. So for majority of the regionals that happen across the state, they're coming in, checking in around 10:30. When we did regional assignments, we were very specific in looking geographically of what made sense, so nobody was traveling a significant longer amount than other folks in the areas. Okay. So they'll come in, they'll play. They're leaving early afternoon for most of them, minus the couple of events that we do that are shifted out of the same location within a day. Again, those timeframes will be given to you. Please plan for the day. During those competitions, we will provide lunch and snacks, so you don't have to pack a ton of stuff. Snacks to and from is always a good idea. You don't want hangry kiddos, but we will provide a meal to those teams that are attending that event. And the folks that we feed at those regional events include all of our volunteers, our staff, our coaches, and our teams. Okay. Any one-on-one staff as well. Okay. So any spectators that you may have coming, we'll let you know per regional kind of what the concessions vibe might be there. So you can let them know if they should pack something or if there are places in the area of which they can purchase food. Okay. But your teams, coaches, one-on-ones, volunteers, those directly attending with your teams can and will be provided lunch and snacks from us. All right, we already talked about this a little bit. So there's one team from each league that will be represented at the regionals, and then each of those winners of those regional events will compete at the state championship as our final eight. So 8 teams will compete at Hershey on March 19th. So again, no late LOIs will be accepted. So when we go over how we did regional assignments, one of the big things that we do have a tentative setup of where everybody is assigned at this point in time. We will lock that in on the week of January 19th, because that will be based upon the LOI. So say we had a league that did not have any teams submit a yes LOI, we'd have to do a little recapitulation of where does that allocation need to go. So turning those in on time is really going to be important for us to make sure we can give you information, your assigned regional, well in advance. Okay. So we want you to be able to set up your transportation, let your kids know what's going on should you win. So everybody has that very far in advance. You will receive the assignment for your particular regional based upon your league from your liaison in an email following that lock-in the week of January 19th. Okay, so please, 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 5 o'clock, January 16th. If we don't have it, you're not going to be eligible for postseason, right? Regional formats is so we have 8 teams that are competing. It's a single elimination tournament with a consolation bracket, and then we do a placement 1 through 8. There's 3 rounds of competition that will happen. There are individual games. They are not matches, just so everybody's aware of that. Each round of those 1 games is 30 minutes or 16 points, whichever happens first. Okay. Steph, if you could answer that question that just popped up real quick, appreciate it. And then only the first place team, the regional champion, is the team that will compete at states. Okay. All right, so let's talk about what happens when we get to states. You have won your league championships, you'd advance to regionals, you have won regionals, you're part of that final 8. What happens next is that you have some more paperwork to complete for us. And what that paperwork is around housing. So we have housing and we have meals. So when you come to states, we do provide housing, and we'll go over exactly where that's at in Hershey here in a few other slides. But athletes are housed with athletes, partners are housed with partners. Males and females must be housed separately, with the exception of some one-on-ones, and all this information is on these forms. So I know I might be going through it a little bit quickly, but we do have policies from SOPA that are meant to be in place to obviously protect folks. But participants that are 18 years or older or under may be in a room of 4. So there are pull-out couches in each of those rooms. And then Individuals that are 19 years of age and older may stay up to two in a room. Each school is limited in the number of rooms that they are given. So the folks that we house are coaches, team members, one-on-ones slash nurses. Okay, those are who we will pay for the housing for. Uh, and we will allow them, should room be available for those folks to have just a one person per room for like the coaches and nurses, or if the needs are for an individual that a nurse has to stay with them. So we want to give this form out to you early so you can start thinking about what does housing look like and who's appropriate to be coming to that overnight event, right? We love that we have a ton of teams and we have a ton of individuals that are participating. Not everybody is going to be successful and have the best experience in going to a long drive overnight experience. Okay. So we want to set people up for success. So if folks are a part of the school, because we're also going to need people's clearances. If they are part of the school, good to go. If it is somebody from outside the school that's volunteering to come in as a one-on-one, we're going to need their clearances set. Okay. The requirement is that we have all the teams are housed in one space. Okay. And even if you are close, we have everybody, it is required to stay overnight. Okay. We provide that housing. It is a very early morning. So we have everybody stay at the Days Inn in Hershey the night before. And then we are in the Giant Center by 7:30 on the 19th. Okay. So that's part of the reason we are staying overnight, all of us, at that Days Inn. Okay. So even if you live 5 miles away, everybody's staying at the Days Inn. Okay. That is a requirement. So just being super, super clear on that. But the form you will get will allow you to lay out who is staying where. You'll have the requirements up top, any specific needs, any dietary restrictions, put that information in there. If you have any trouble as you're filling this out, or you have a specific accommodation or concern, reach out to your liaison. They're going to touch base with me for final approval on any changes. And then we will let you know whatever that decision is. Okay. We definitely want to work with you. Right. What we can't get into the routine of is having every athlete have a parent try and come stay with them because I do not have the rooms to accommodate that. Okay. It cannot work that way. So that's why every team will be restricted to a specific number of rooms. Okay. So as soon as I have that number allotment from the Days Inn, I go out and I divvy that up, and then everybody has an equal amount of rooms that they have to work within. Okay. Last year, that number was 8 that they had to fit all their team members in, just as kind of a heads up of what that number looks like. And we talked about having clearances for folks. We have a link where people don't have to go and try to get all those fun clearances that schools need. You go through that link. It is a quicker process, but they would have to be done before arrival on site. Okay. The other thing that we'll need from you guys is meals. So 2 of the meals that we will provide is we'll provide dinner on Wednesday night. That is normally a sit-down hot meal that's provided. The Hershey Italian Lodge has done a wonderful job for us the last few years in providing like a baked ziti, salad. We have gluten-free options. We'll have vegetarian options as well. So based upon the dietary restrictions folks have, we can make sure that accommodations are made for that. So we'll do dinner on Wednesday night. Breakfast on Thursday morning will be at the hotel. And then also box lunch is provided following competition at the Giant Center. So we'll wrap up and then we'll do that. So you'll get a lunch request form. Everybody will have to pick what they're having prior to so we can have it staged up and ready following competition. Okay. On those forms, just make sure that you are making sure you've got your bus drivers and all your one-on-ones, right? So we'll provide to them as well. Same on your housing forms. Don't forget your drivers, folks. Right. So what does states kind of look like timeline wise? Wednesday, March 18th. We are playing on the 19th. So everybody comes in on the 18th. We'll be in Hershey. We'll have everybody comes and checks in at the Days Inn no later than 5:30. So you're coming in at some point in time, depending on how far away you're coming from. However you depart is kind of going to be up to you on that one. And then we will go and do some activities at an off-site location where we'll have dinner. So that's going to talk a little bit about what that looks like here in a minute. And then Thursday is when we actually play, and we will be at the Giant Center, which is the coolest thing. If you have not seen it, we've done a lot of work with the PIAA and the Giant Center to really make this a really special, awesome, exciting event. If you've been, you know where the Days Inn is in Hershey. This is where we are hosted every year. The manager there, Bob France, is fabulous to us and treats us very, very well. This is where we check in. There is bus parking available behind and in front of the building. Giant Center, right by all the attractions. So if your kiddos have not been to Chocolate World and you want to spin by there and it fits into your schedule, by all means, please do so. You want to look schedule wise, just to give you a quick heads up here. Wednesday is your arrival between 4:30 and 5:30. Dinner and activities. We'll have our coaches meeting at that same location. Then we're lights out at 10 o'clock. Okay. Thursday, breakfast is early. Okay. So we are all at the Giant Center by 7:30. But we'll do breakfast at the Days Inn. We do them in 2 different shifts. We'll assign you a shift on Wednesday night so you know when your teams are eating. It's a small lobby area, so we make sure that it doesn't get too congested in that space. Teams will get over to the Giant Center. We have an opening ceremonies, and we're starting competition by 9. Competition is very, very tight. We have to wrap up by 11 o'clock so we can be off the court, clear out, have you guys in the stands. You've never seen PBC move quicker in your entire life than the end of that competition. The girls' basketball game is coming on directly after us. So really important that as we're moving from game to game, that we have our coaches maneuvering folks where they need to be. Okay. And we'll have staff on site that's going to help as well. So when you wrap up one game, you know exactly where you're going, whether you win or lose. Okay. We'll do awards during the halftime of that girls' basketball game. We'll bring everybody out of the bleachers. We'll bring them onto the court. We'll present them with their medals. First, our champion and our runner-up will both receive a PIAA trophy as well. Okay. And then after that, after awards are presented, you are more than welcome to go on your way. So you can stay and hang and watch the basketball game, or you can leave at that point in time. Few of the things that we will provide, just so everybody is aware, we will handle everything competition-wise. We'll handle all the dinner. We'll handle all the housing for Wednesday and for Thursday. We'll take care of everything at the Giants Center. Steph, do you want to go over just a little bit about what we do on Wednesday aside from dinner?
Yeah, sure. So we all eat dinner typically at the school we're at. We will eat in their cafeteria. And then after we finish eating, a little bit before as teams arrive, and then after we eat, the coaches will stay and have a coaches meeting with some of our SOPA staff in the cafeteria where it's a little bit quieter. And then the rest of the the players will all come back to the gym and we have some activities. So if you're familiar with our youth summits, we have some similar activities that we've done there. We have music and dancing. We have, in the past couple of years, we've done relays, we've done photo scavenger hunts, we've done things based around inclusion. We'll have a spread the word banner for everyone to sign, a big one that's been kind of getting passed around at a lot of our big events. So it's just a really nice night for the teams to come together and bond a little bit with each other, but also kind of get to meet some of the other players and teams that they'll be playing against in the next morning. So the past couple years, it has been a really empowering night, just watching everyone come together and just have a really fun time. So no Special Olympic event is complete without a good dance party. So we bring the music on that night.
Very true. Yeah, and I'd say that I think it makes a huge difference for the next day too, because you see a lot more interaction that happens between all the players because now they're familiar and they've spent some time with each other the night before. Awesome. Thanks, Steph. So what we need from you all. So you're like, okay, this sounds great, Lauren. What happens next? What do I have to do? What do I have to get past my admin to get them to say yes on this letter of intent that you want from me? So what we'll need from all of you is plan for transportation to and from Hershey. That cost will be associated with your school. You're going to need to bring at least two coaches. Where if you have a team of 10, yes, you can bring your substitutes or your alternates. So we are in a 4-to-1 ratio per Special Olympics policy. So 2 to 3 coaches, if whether you have 8 or if you have 10. And then the teams must, when they're coming, they must be of 6, that minimum number of a team, uh, or the maximum of 10. And from individual game to individual game, those alternates can play. Okay. They can't play in an active game, but they can play from game to game. You can switch up your roster as long as you remain in ratio, just like we do in regular season right now. Okay. Uh, all your athletes must be dressed in appropriate and proper uniform. If they are not, they will not play. If somebody comes with the wrong color pants, they will not play. The benefit of that is you're coming in the night before. We've got some time to make adjustments to make sure everybody is in what they need to. Okay. That includes shoes. So sneakers, the right polo, everything needs to be in appropriate uniform. Everybody's got to have their medicals. If you are showing up with your team, I'm assuming that they have their PIAA medical, right? We do not collect those. Those are on you guys to make sure that those things are completed. But those are the things that you need to do. Have those plans. I advise you to bring snacks to and from. I think all of you through traveling through regular season have figured out what makes your team successful on those travel trips. You know what's best. Do what you need to do to make sure everybody's getting to and from on that drive successful. Couple facts that you may or may not know, but you may have questions about is, hey, great, we have a second team. We would love to have them come cheer on our team that has qualified. Can they come? Yep, they can come to regionals and they can come to states. But know that the cost of those individuals coming to either of those events is going to be at your school cost, and you'll be invoiced for them after the fact. Okay, so meals for them, for those folks, and housing at states will be at the cost of the school for those. They're more than welcome to go ahead and do that, though. Support staff, yes, please. If a student has a one-on-one paraprofessional in the school day, absolutely no problem. Or if they have a medical condition that means that they need to have a nurse on site, or if there's a school policy that says that you have to have a nurse attend, then yes, that is not a problem. And we can include them in your numbers. That is not at additional cost to you, that they will just be roped in with your qualifying team numbers. Your spectators and your families are welcome at all of our postseason events, and at states in particular on Thursday. Just know that they are also responsible for their own transportation, housing, and food. We won't be paying for that, so please don't put them on your food forms that we will have going out to you. Please let them know that the Giant Center is a cashless facility. Most of the concession stands are not open when we're there that early, in all honesty. They start to open up a little bit after we wrap up competition. So during that basketball game is when they'll start to open up a little bit more. The families aren't going to be charged any type of entrance fees as they go to that main entrance. All they have to let the security folks know is that they're there for the Unified Bocce competition, and they'll be able to go ahead and get in. All right. I gave you a ton of information. So Steph, I'm going to stop share here and let's take a look at some of the big questions that might have popped up here.
So the one that I did answer into the chat was about the question about the LOI. It is one LOI that will cover all aspects of playoffs. So if you're committing to the playoffs, you're committing that if your team were to win your league, that you are going to go on to the regional event. Should you win at regionals, you're committing to go on to states. If you're unable to commit to move on past that league championship, you should not turn in an LOI that says yes. You should turn one in that says no, because we want it to be fair to all the teams who are able to commit. So if there is any question about that, please reach out to your UCS liaison. But if you're saying yes to playoffs, you're saying yes to all parts of it if you keep winning.
Yeah, absolutely. So having those conversations with your teams, parents, admin is important to have if you haven't had them already, just to make sure that they're committed. Again, we have 312 schools that have unified bocce teams, which I love. I love that this continues to grow so much. We want to be fair to everybody that does want to participate in the full set of postseason. The one thing that I failed to show you all that I kept saying, let me show you a demo of what uh, your regional allocations are going to look like. So let me share my screen and give you a quick heads up. Again, this is tentative. You will get the final allocation set or your regional assignment the week of January 19th. Okay. So let me give you the quick preview here so you can see what this looks like. Right, so we're going to take a look over here. So you'll see we've got some nice color coordination happening of our 8 regionals, and we've gone and listed every single league across the board based upon the size of each league, of the number of schools, not just individual teams, but the number of schools uh, that we have. We went through and did that, and then based had given allocations. The allocation thresholds are exactly the same from regional to regional all the way across the state. Okay, there's no variation whatsoever, so we are completely fair across the board. So again, based upon each of these leagues, should a league not turn in an LOI and that needs to be distributed somewhere else, we will make that slight change. So instead of giving you something, say this is set in stone and change it on you, we're going to show you so you know what it looks like and what you can expect to receive. Currently, it is tentative, and then it will be locked in the week of January 19th. Okay. So that will tell you where you are going, the date that you may be going there, and the time frame of which that competition happens. Okay. So you can uh, be aware of all of those things. Okay. So the other thing that comes into play on this that I did fail to mention, and I apologize for that, is we have a set of wild cards that may come into play. Okay. And the wild cards are attributed to 6 of our 8 regionals at this point in time. So that means that once we did all of our clean allocations earlier today and had them set, that we had a slot that would be potentially available based upon our threshold numbers that we used for consistency. So what we will do, so as far in advance as possible, and we know we have set those in there and know where all the wild cards are. So we will take every single league within each regional that has a wild card and do a random draw of that league and then let you know which of those leagues has gotten an additional allocation. Okay, so when you go to your league playoff, you know that day if you have the potential to qualify, whether you are first or second place, or if you are the next highest finishing team if you will qualify for regionals. Okay, so it won't be up in the air. We're not going to wait till the very end of all the league championships and then do random draws. We're going to pull the league that's going to get that additional allocation and then let everybody know that. So that'll be upfront information so everybody can start to plan for transportation and just be aware of what can happen. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop share there again. Again, you will that week of January 19th get a copy of all of this. Know exactly where you may be assigned, the time frame, and the date of that regional. Okay. All right. Any other additional questions we have in there, Steph?
I didn't see other questions in the chat. The one thing I did want to mention that I think might be a nice thing to share is just to kind of point out at states, we're putting the 4 courts all on one basketball court. So they're all very tight together. And so once you get there, your students and your players will be kind of standing behind the end lines of the court. It is a little bit of a different setup than you might be used to. So that is just something I wanted to point out because sometimes when teams show up to states, they're just not used to the new setup. But we have to work within the space that we have. So wanted to mention that because that is something that you might want to share with your players, and you can always show them some of the photos from other years that we've had I'm putting a link in our chat right now to one of the Flickr albums from states last year that shows the court set up a little bit and just kind of where the players end up. And the coaches are back even farther. So just giving everyone a fair warning and a heads up that looks a little bit different than what you might be used to setting up in your gyms.
Yep. Good to mention that stuff. Yep. Thank you. Because we do not have the room to put a coach's chair in the middle of the court, so you guys have to stay on the baselines of the basketball court in the red zones, uh, and not bother your team members. All right. Questions that any of you all may have. Go ahead, and if you want to unmute yourself, doesn't seem like such a rowdy crew here, so we can allow that.
We could stop the recording too, so if anyone
Yeah,
wants to ask.